In this video, we're going to go over some of the different warm-up exercises that you can do. We've covered all of the different movements in the in-hand, or most all of the movements. And now it's about, okay, identifying what's really going on with your horse and which movements do you want to use depending on what's going on. Because most of the movements are to help your horse, to improve your horse's ability to go out and be a better horse, to go do the things that you want to do. So it's not necessarily the movements are the end, that you're trying to just achieve that movement, but it's more about the movements are your shoulder in, your bends, your half pass. They're all more there to really develop the horse, to get the horse using their body to the best of their ability. So there's three main things that when you're going through and you're doing all your movements that you're looking for, and those are the bend in their body. And we've talked about that in the other videos, but I just want to reiterate and then go over some of the warm-up exercises that you can use. So bend is kind of the cure-all, if you will, for most of the things. If there's an issue there, usually it's a bend issue. Not always, but usually. And so it's identifying, are you getting the bend through the head and neck, and then are you getting it through the rib cage and barrel? Second thing is, are you getting your horse to be able to lengthen its neck? Oftentimes the horses are contracted in the neck. Nisa's, that's her kind of go-to, is she contracts, she gets tight in the back, and then the stride gets short and choppy. So it's about being able to have a nice, long, lengthened neck. The reverse of that, you will get some horses that are actually too low and too long. And it's not so much that they're too long, it's just they're too down. And so then you might have to pick them up a little bit. But that's more the exception than the rule. And then the third thing is the angle. In your movements, are you able to get the angle you want? And usually that is because of a bend issue. And that's why the bend is such a big component of this. And the angle usually is they'll bend too much in the neck, but they don't bend enough in the rib cage. They may be giving you too much angle, and sometimes they're not giving you enough because they're over bending in the neck. So we're going to start off with the bends. What are some different bend exercises? You know all of the different movements. So now let's, Nisa here, I've done a little bit of warm-up just online, but I haven't done any with the in-hand work here. So I wanted to show you, how do you start off? If I come out here, she knows the movements, I know the movements. Now what movements do I want to use to help her? So I'm first just going to ask her to walk off, start getting in a frame, just see where she's at. Where is she tense, tight? Is she? Or is she right there for me? I'd like just a little bit more walk from her there. So this is nice. So then I will just say, hey, can you give me a little bend in the head and neck? And I flex her a little bit through the head and neck. And there she kind of slows down the walk. She actually goes into a little bit of a shoulder in. I'd like to see her bend a little bit more right through here. And as soon as I started asking for the bend, she started to move her hind end over. So, and this is common for her. She doesn't want to bend, so she'll just give me more angle than I want. So how I can help that is just coming to the rail. So now the rail is keeping her body straight, and then I'm just going to pick up my inside rein and tip her head to me. And say, hey, can you give me some bend in that neck? And this is something I want you to think about as you're playing with your horse. Where is the horse bending? A lot of times they're bending too much in certain areas, like it might be the base of the neck, but they're not bending enough in another area of their body. So for her, I'd like to see her flex a little bit more here right at the pole. So I'm going to ask her to walk along and just flexing her towards me, keeping her body straight, saying, hey, can you flex your head and neck? And it's okay, but I'd like more. So she's not really giving it to me. So what I'll do is I'll just come to a halt and go back to very basic. Can I ask for a little flexion in the first and second joint in her neck? And I'm doing that by just putting my hand up on the top of her nose, my other hand's kind of on the bottom of her jaw, and just asking her to rotate. There we go. And I don't want her to rotate her head this way or tip her head like that. I want her to keep her head straight up and down, but just rotate it there. Tip it a little. Can I flex the vertebrae in her neck? So she'll flex here, okay. Then I go to the second joint, and that's where she's a little stiffer. So I'm going to say, hey, can you give that to me? And that's okay. Now I want to see if I can go, and there she kind of contracted, it went up. I'm going to, there. Yeah, I'd like for her to drop her head just a little bit, if she will, but there's a nice release. And with this, I'm not forcing it. I'm waiting on her. I put a little feel there, and I just wait on her to, yes, let go and give it and hold it there. So there was a nice release, nice licking chew. And she was still a little bit tense, so I just held it until she just kind of softened into my hand. And so I'll just try that one more time. Just say, hey, can you give that to me? Yes. And I like that she's got a longer neck there. Nice. Now that I've done that, I can come back and say, hey, can we do that at a walk now? So I go ahead and pick up the walk, get a little contact there, get a little connection, and then start asking for her to tip her neck, and she give me that part of her neck. The old masters say that the connection to the hind end comes through the pole. So if you don't have access to the pole, and that's what I was just doing there, is getting her to flex in her pole and her upper neck. And if I can't do that, I'm not really going to have access to her hind end. So this is much better. It's not 100%, but it's much better. So now I'm going to see if I can take that into some of the other movements. So can she keep a nice, soft, relaxed bend and give me a shoulder in? There. And then I'm going to take that into a circle. Yes, can she keep that? And I might even take it into a little bit of a counter bend, going the other way. Could be a counter bend, it could be even a little counter shoulder in. But here's this little counter bend. That's nice. So she's pretty much staying there. So just by helping her to soften here has freed up other areas of her body. It's allowed her to just kind of relax into it. And that's what you're going to look for, is what area of their body is there an issue in. Because if there's tension in the neck here, it's not allowing her movement to come through her body. So it just kind of blocks and stops right there, and it's not going to go down, or the energy is not going to flow through. But as soon as they kind of let go, then the energy and the movement can go through. And the movement, your different lateral work, can now start going through her body instead of just running into that stiffness. So now here I'm on the other side, and we'll see what are some of the issues on this side. And just because it's in the upper neck on going the other way doesn't mean it's going to be in the same spot. Most of the time it's not. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's either going to be farther down the neck or up the neck. This isn't too bad. And getting the bend is a huge part of getting the lengthening in the neck, getting them to relax in that neck, and it's going to allow you to start getting a better angle when you start doing your shoulder in and your haunches in and that sort of thing. So I'm just asking her to bend. I'd like for her to get a little softer in my outside hand, get a little bit more on the bit, but staying nice and soft in my hand. And so I'm doing that through the bend also. Yeah. And there she kind of pops up a little. So I just put a feel with the outside rein saying stay soft. There it is. There it is. I like that. So now I can say, okay. So with this direction here, it's more, she's not really coming into my hand. So I'm going to use the band to help her to get a little bit more contact and staying soft in my hand with that contact. Yes. And there I just did a little circle. And I'll come out and do a half circle here. And then do a little leg yield. So you can start to use the different movements, and then I might turn it into another circle or even a half circle. Now it may seem like I'm just kind of meandering around the arena, and sometimes I do, but I'm always aware of where my rail is, my line of travel that I'm on. So here what I did is I did a circle over there into a leg yield across the arena, and I can go as far across or as short as I want. And then I just did a half circle here, or I could do a full circle. And then I could do another leg yield back. So I have some different ideas in my mind of what it is I want to do. Sometimes I'll have it all kind of planned out beforehand, but oftentimes I'll just take the next thing that I can do. It's like, oh, I'm on a circle here. What else could I do with that to help her get soft, to get that band? And I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity to do a leg yield across here. Or it might be, hey, I could go straight ahead into a shoulder in. So you start to pick and choose which movement do you feel like is going to help your horse with the issue that you have. Or maybe it's an issue you have that you need help with and you need more practice with. So if I come here and I can do a circle, and I'll just do the circle and then just show you how I can do a leg yield back. But I want to actually do a whole circle here. She's a little bit slow there, a little bit tense in the neck, so I'm just asking her, can you get a little rounder? Or bending towards me a little bit more, get soft. Yes. And now, once I'm facing you, the camera, then I can head off diagonally in a leg yield. So I can head across, and at any point I can either do another circle here, I could go straight ahead, I could do a shoulder in. All of those things are related. And then I could, that's a little bit tight there, but I could have done a counter shoulder in, and I'll just show you that here. So I'm going straight ahead in a shoulder in. I turn the shoulder in into a leg yield, and now I turn the leg yield. I could do a circle or I can do a counter bend the other way. Back into a shoulder in. Yeah. Now I could do a circle or a half circle with a shoulder in down the rail. Yes. And then I could do a half circle. Everything up to this point has been keeping her on the same bend, but now I might go, well, hey, can you change bends and give me a little half pass? Keeping soft. See, she got a little tight in her neck. There, now I could do a little bit of a haunches in on the circle. Here I could just do some haunches in down the rail. So she's a little bit tight in her neck. That same spot when I was on the other side. There, and now I could do another haunches in on the circle. And I could do a little haunches out on the circle. So I'm just picking things, going, hey, I wonder if this will help her. Experiment a little. The experimenting is great. Just don't do too many different things too quickly if you don't understand them. And what I mean by that is don't add 10 different things in if you're not clear on what it is you're doing. So if you're not clear on doing your half pass here, then don't add a bunch of other things to it. Say, okay, let's get clear on, oh, this is the half pass. Okay, that's working good. And then I could go, oh, and now let me try a little bit of a haunches out on a circle, whatever it might be. Because if you're not clear on it and you start adding too many different things, then it's all going to just get muddled together and kind of turn into one big blob. Where make sure you're clear on the movements, and that's why I went through all the movements here first before I'm showing you how to start bringing them together, putting them into different pieces and start asking. And I know I'm throwing quite a bit in this video here of different options, But the main thing I want you to think about here from this video is the ability to get the bend through the body. We focused a lot on getting the bend here. You have to determine where that issue is. Some horses, they're bending beautifully through the neck, and it might be a little bit more through the rib cage. And that's usually, you're going to do more shoulder in work to help them to start to reach through shoulder in work and your circles. Circles with shoulder in and counter shoulder in. That's usually the things you want to use. So identify what's going on with your horse, then go out and go, I wonder if this exercise will help. Try it and see, does that help? If not, after a little bit of practice with that, try something else, or start adding different things in like I'm doing here. It's just giving you kind of going, oh, let's do a leg yield into a circle, into a shoulder in, into changing the bend, haunches in, that sort of thing. It's go out there, have fun with it. Don't make it a drill. Don't make it like, oh, I've got to get this. If you're having trouble with it, go back to something that's simpler, something that's easier, get that better, and then move on into the next thing. Don't make it too complicated. If all the different movements are like, just do one or two. Play with that until you get that good, then add another thing in there. So go on out, play with that, have fun. Let me know how it's working for you. Thanks for watching.